how are you?
Hello, I'm good.
I'm so glad that you can join me.
Thanks for having me.
Sure. And let me get your brief introduction and then invite you to say more. Um, I just wanted to say that you graduated in 2018. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yes,
Yep.
in graphic design. And I know you through doing a volunteer alternative spring break program that we had here at SUNY New Paltz. And I definitely remember you and how great it was too. I am lucky to do my job and meet students who are great alumni, a great alumni. So I'm going to wave to a few people here. Okay. All right. So Yuan is a user experience, user interface designer at, is it Jenius Bank? Yes, at
Yep.
Jenius Bank. And she is also a photographer and videographer. And like I said, 2018 BFA graphic design graduate. And you just have so many experiences, Jan. And if you could just kind of give yourself a little bit of a better introduction and tell us about a little bit more about yourself and about your career journey.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Dawn, for the introduction. And yeah, so I was a BFA major, as Dawn already mentioned, but so I was at SUNY New Paltz for all 4 years. During, I guess, my time there, I guess I can talk about like a lot of the courses and then how it sort of translated to some of the work I did during the years. So I think throughout the years, I did a lot of summer internships, and I guess I would love to share this resource, but a lot of the internships that I did were from the SYEP program based out of New York City. So if you live in the New York City area, you apply towards the program, and they actually sort of, give you opportunities from different companies. They partner with different companies and say like, hey, are you interested in this based off of your resume? So part of that program was also the Ladders for Leaders. It's a section of SYEP, and basically I applied for that, and a lot of my internships came through them. And so I think in the early years, I did gallery work, I did graphic design work, and a lot of it tied to the skills I learned during my coursework. And even now, a lot of the courses I did were a great foundation into user experience design, which I would say is a little different from graphic design. I like to describe user experience design as like a mix of graphic design, technology, and then also like psychology. But I think a lot of, what I've learned really became a foundation of everything that I do today. So yeah, that's a little bit about, not going too deeply into each internship by itself, but a lot of them were, rather short. They were for the summer, but it helped me build up my resume so that when I was going to graduate, it was like, hey, I have all these experiences, including, as you mentioned, alternative spring break, ASB. That really helped sort of buff up my experiences. So, yep, that's.
What is SYEP?
Yeah, it's the Summer Youth Employment Program. I think you have to be within the New York City, like residing in the New York City area. But yeah, it's a great program for anybody, I think, from high school age to like college, like 25. So yeah, they're a great program to apply for, and I would encourage it. It's for specifically summer internships, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned that you were a gallery intern. You had your graphics and video production internship, and so do you know what you wanted to do earlier through your internships that you figured it out?
That is a great question. Honestly, when I was going through like school, the thing I thought I would be doing was actually editorial design. So we did a lot of print work in school, and so I really love, touching paper and then just seeing like laying out how maybe a magazine spread would look like. I knew gallery work was a little dry for me personally. I think like I like art, but it wasn't so much that I was like immersed in it. And so really graphic design, I enjoyed it and I liked the print part. I also liked the digital part. I actually sort of fell into my job, oddly enough. So I never even thought about like, hey, I'm going to go into user experience design. But during one of the classes that I had, it was both interaction design course and a web design course. I knew that I actually enjoyed the digital part more, and for most of my life, I was very much on the computer playing with programs, and I knew that like the Adobe Suite I was familiar with, and so it sort of naturally I just ended up here because of post grad. I landed an internship with Ladders for Leaders through SYEP, and then it sort of climbed up the ladder for I want to say like 4 years or so. So yeah, just a natural progression happened there. But yeah.
That's great. That's great. And you said you like fell into it. I think that happens a lot. Through experiences when people are figuring out if certain things are for them or not, then opportunities happen, and so that's great.
Yeah.
I just remembered that you also enjoy photography and videography. So the photography is another digital art, right?
Yep. Definitely.
So I actually looked at your website. How would you say you combine your other artistic interests, like the photography, videography?
Yeah, so within my job right now, so I'm relatively new to my current job. I've joined around July. But in my previous job, so I knew I didn't want to do videography or photography as my main job because at some point, sometimes for people, and I know myself, like if you do it as a job, it makes you dislike it more because there's such a pressure to do it well or perfectly. And so when I was doing my previous job, doing UX design, I looked for opportunities where I can actually expand my skills within videography and photography through other people, through different opportunities. And so when one example is when we had events such as hackathons at my previous company, I would just say, hey, can I volunteer to take pictures? Can I design the shirts or logos for this event? And, just because I was mainly doing user experience design, I thought, hey, this is a good opportunity to really have real world application for my skills and show that like, hey, other people might like what I do, even though it's not my main job. And so at some point, I think people started asking me like, hey, can you take photos for this event? And I was like, oh, that's such a great way to like, just sort of build rapport and also get to enjoy what you do without the like pressure of having any sort of like external review or things like that. So yeah, those were some of the ways I did that.
Yeah, that's great. And I think that's pretty common that people come to the workplace with their other skills and you can plug them in. And this, hopefully it's somewhere on your resume because you might get hired for that in addition to your other skills. But it sounds great when you can kind of combine your other interests and offer that to the employer. And then, yeah, it's something that you enjoy doing.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But, yeah, it makes you even more valuable employee.
Definitely. Yeah.
Let me see. What would you say, Yuan, are some of your administrative skills that you have built? Could be here in college, but after, because we want current students to kind of have on their radar skills that they might need in the workplace and to start building them now.
Right. Yeah. Administrative skills. I would say for my job, a big one is like communication and teamwork. It is absolutely huge. And I realized this actually shortly after I started my internship after graduating, just how big it was because, people tell you should be a team player and you should collaborate with other people, but I didn't realize on a business level what that sort of meant. And so in my job day to day, I'm constantly talking to people. It's whether I know like I design a computer, and sometimes, you could get a little siloed, but once you have to implement the design, you have to talk to engineers, you have to talk to product managers, and really talk about your design, learning to talk about how your work and, the reasons you made certain decisions, and I guess interpersonal skills as well, right? Coming off as, you know, genuine and really listening to other people's feedback as well. I think actually the graphic design program really helps me with that because we do art critiques, and I think even outside of graphic design, the art program in itself, right? When we have critique sessions, it's very less about the personal level of the critique and it's more about the work. So really sort of separating the artwork from the person or like the design from the person. And yeah, being able to talk about your work in a way that other people can understand and relate to it. So yeah, that I would say is like top for me. Other small things definitely like time management, organization are definitely gonna come into play. And I think, college sort of preps you for that in ways you may already know, like, having to prep for exams and just keeping yourself organized. And so naturally, I think some of those things get built up just with time. So yeah.
That's great. I know I've been lucky to have been invited into some critiques for like painting and drawing, and I'm amazed. It's totally not about the individual, more about the work, but it's tough. And I've spoken to students after their critiques, and they are totally able to just put it outside of themselves, and they say they're grateful for the feedback. They can improve their work, and it's so refreshing to hear that, because not everybody. I mean, you could be in your job for a long time, and that still is just amazing and so valuable.
Right. Yeah.
Sharing all of those skills, and we use these words, these buzzwords like personal skills, communication, and talking, and people are like, okay, but what does that mean? And when you're in an internship, when you're out working, you start understanding the real value and how to put that into action. So, yeah, thank you. Let's see. So, you were involved, like you said, while you were in school. Do you have any advice for students who maybe they're in school, they're, experts at going to classes and doing their projects, and what maybe should they be taking advantage of or have on their radar?
Yeah, not a plug, but also a plug, but definitely the Career Resource Center. So totally being transparent, I do have my resume, my very old resume here as a reference. And this is actually paper from the Career Resource Center. I think the Career Resource Center, you guys did an event where, you were giving resume paper and actually helping us print our resumes on it before, I think the career fair, if I remember correctly. And I think, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, I think it's super helpful because so these are one of the few I still have left, but on this resume it still says I haven't graduated, which is super funny. But yeah, like I passed these out to people and people were impressed by the weight of the paper, even the like things like that. And I think honestly taking advantage of those resources, whether it's practicing interviews. I know I did that a couple of times with some of you guys, do one-on-ones, give us back advice. And it's same thing like a critique, right? You're getting back advice and you're tailoring your resume, doing things like that. So definitely like take advantage of that, the career fairs as well, but also sort of outside of the very like rigorous get a job and like do the college stuff. I think it's really important to enjoy your time in college. I think one of the biggest things I sort of realized looking back now is like it's important to sort of surround yourself with people who want the best for you, to encourage you. So I think Dawn, you were there at one stage with, I know Erica, who had ran ASB then. Also, it was very encouraging to have people look after you, and it's sort of like networking naturally almost. That's what happens in college. You call them your friends, of course, but at a certain point, these friends go their different paths, you stay connected, and eventually, they could be your connection to your next job or your next project together. And so, yeah, I think like making those relationships, surrounding yourself with people who, encourage you to be better, and you being the same for others, is really important. And yeah, enjoying college, like find out what you like, what you don't, try out the classes that you have never probably get to try in real life. I really wanted to try ceramics. Never got to try that, but things like that. I think, yeah, I would say would be what I sort of encourage outside of like uh, classes. Yeah.
And it's never too late to take a genetics course, right? I mean, it's funny because I work at a college and I'm always overwhelmed by the classes that I want to take. So it is great that we're lifelong learners. I just wanted to give a shout out. I saw New Paltz Design in the chat. So, and I think they gave
New Paltz Design.
Smoking Hot Flames. I know. So you're all part of the SUNY New Paltz family, right? Even when you graduate, and
Absolutely.
And if you're graduating soon out there or an alumni, I'll be professionally stalking you, right? In an appropriate way. Anything, as you wrap up, that you want to share with students, or I know, are you on the Orange and Blue Network?
I believe I am. I do get like emails about like alumni relations, sort of. That might be it. It might not.
And then if you're not, you can join that if you want to, and that is actually a good way if a student wants to follow up and ask you a question. It's up for that.
Definitely.